The air was thick with the scent of ancient stone and forgotten incense, as Ezra Blackwood cautiously made his way through the narrow passageways of the underground city. His flashlight beam danced across weathered murals depicting gods and monsters, their colours still vibrant despite the passage of millennia. Ezra's heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. As an archaeologist specialising in lost civilizations, he had dreamed of this moment his entire career. The discovery of this vast subterranean metropolis hidden beneath the Anatolian plateau promised to rewrite history as they knew it. Ezra's companions, the stoic geologist Kai Stormbreaker and the brilliant linguist Scarlett Firebrand, followed close behind, their own lights illuminating the ornate architecture that surrounded them. The trio had been exploring the outskirts of the city for days, slowly making their way towards its heart. With each step deeper into the underground labyrinth, Ezra felt a growing sense of unease, as if unseen eyes were watching their every move. "Look at these inscriptions," Scarlett whispered, her voice filled with awe as she ran her fingers along a wall covered in an unfamiliar script. "It's unlike anything I've ever seen. The language structure suggests a civilization far older than we initially thought." Kai nodded in agreement, his usually stern features softened by wonder. "And the geological formations, they're impossible. Some of these structures shouldn't exist at this depth." As they rounded a corner, the passageway opened into a vast chamber that took their breath away. Towering statues of humanoid figures with multiple arms and animal heads lined the walls, their empty eyes seeming to follow the explorers. In the centre of the room stood an obsidian altar, its surface etched with swirling patterns that seemed to move in the flickering light of their torches. Ezra approached the altar, drawn by an inexplicable urge to touch its smooth surface. Just as his fingertips brushed against the cool stone, a low rumble echoed through the chamber. The ground beneath their feet began to tremble, and a faint, ethereal glow emanated from the cracks in the altar's surface. Ezra stumbled back, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination. "What have you done?" Kai shouted over the growing noise. But Ezra couldn't answer, for in that moment he felt something awaken deep within the city, and within himself. In the days that followed the incident at the altar, Ezra found himself plagued by vivid dreams and strange sensations. He would wake in the middle of the night, his body covered in a cold sweat, fragments of an alien language on his lips. Despite Kai's insistence that they should leave the underground city, Ezra felt an inexplicable pull to delve deeper into its mysteries. Scarlett, torn between scientific curiosity and growing concern for her colleague, threw herself into deciphering the ancient texts they encountered. As they explored further, the city seemed to come alive around them. Phosphorescent fungi bloomed in their wake, casting an eerie glow that danced across the weathered stones. The air grew thicker, filled with whispers that hovered just beyond comprehension. Ezra's excitement grew with each new discovery, but Kai and Scarlett exchanged worried glances, noticing the increasingly manic gleam in their friend's eyes. Their journey led them to a vast library, its shelves stretching impossibly high and filled with tomes bound in materials they couldn't identify. Scarlett's eyes lit up at the treasure trove of knowledge, but her enthusiasm was tempered by the unsettling nature of the illustrations she found within the books. Creatures beyond imagination and cosmic entities that defied physics stared back at her from the yellowed pages. Meanwhile, Kai's geological instruments went haywire, recording impossible readings that suggested the very fabric of reality was thin in this place. Ezra, however, seemed to flourish in this environment. He navigated the twisting corridors with uncanny ease, as if guided by an invisible hand. His insights into the civilization that built this place became more profound, yet increasingly bizarre. "Don't you see?" he would exclaim, gesturing wildly at murals depicting terrifying deities. They weren't gods in the way we understand them. They were beings from beyond our reality, shapers of worlds. The turning point came when they discovered a chamber filled with sarcophagi, each bearing the likeness of the multi-armed, animal-headed beings they had seen depicted throughout the city. As Ezra approached one of the stone coffins, its lid began to crack and shift. Kai grabbed Ezra's arm, trying to pull him back, but it was too late. The sarcophagus opened with a thunderous crack, releasing a swirling mist that engulfed Ezra. As Kai and Scarlett watched in horror, their friend's silhouette seemed to waver and distort within the otherworldly fog. As the mist dissipated, Ezra emerged changed. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and strange symbols flickered across his skin like living tattoos. He spoke in a voice that echoed with ancient power. "I understand now. We were wrong about everything." Kai and Scarlett backed away, their faces masks of horror and disbelief. Ezra continued, seemingly oblivious to their fear. These beings, these forgotten gods, they didn't die out. They evolved. They became one with the city, waiting for the right vessel to awaken them. The entire underground metropolis began to shake violently. Walls shifted and rearranged themselves, revealing new passages and sealing off others. Kai grabbed Scarlett's hand, shouting over the cacophony, "We need to get out of here now!" But Ezra stood transfixed, arms outstretched as if embracing the chaos. "No!" he cried. "You don't understand. This is ascension." As they fled through the crumbling corridors, Kai and Scarlett witnessed impossible sights. Reality itself seemed to warp and twist around them. Creatures that defied description emerged from the shadows, some pursuing the fleeing humans, others bowing before the transformed Ezra. Scarlett's linguistic expertise proved crucial as she deciphered emergency escape routes from the ancient markings on the walls. They finally reached what appeared to be an exit, a massive stone door covered in pulsating runes. Kai worked frantically to decipher the locking mechanism, while Scarlett held off the encroaching horrors with a makeshift flamethrower crafted from their equipment. Just as hope seemed lost, the door began to grind open, revealing a tunnel that led upwards towards the surface. But before they could escape, Ezra appeared before them, his form now a terrifying amalgamation of human and eldritch god. "You can't leave," he said, his voice resonating with power. "The world above must know, must prepare. The forgotten gods will rise again, and I shall be their herald." Kai and Scarlett stood at the threshold between two worlds, faced with an impossible choice: escape and warn humanity, or stay and try to save their friend from the terrifying transformation that had overtaken him. In a heart-wrenching decision, Kai and Scarlett chose to flee, carrying with them the burden of their friend's fate and the knowledge of what lay beneath the earth. As they emerged into the blinding sunlight, the entrance to the underground city collapsed behind them, sealing off the horrors within, or so they thought. In the days that followed, they struggled to come to terms with their experiences. The academic world dismissed their fantastic tales as the ravings of minds broken by cave-ins and isolation. But Kai and Scarlett knew the truth, and they watched the world with new eyes, always alert for signs that the forgotten gods were stirring. Strange phenomena began to occur across the globe. Unexplainable geological events, mass hallucinations, and the appearance of unknown symbols in ancient sites worldwide. Kai threw himself into studying these occurrences, convinced they were connected to what they had witnessed underground. Scarlett, haunted by the loss of Ezra, dedicated herself to translating the texts they had managed to bring back, searching for a way to reverse what had happened to their friend. Their separate pursuits led them to a startling realization. The awakening they had witnessed was just the beginning. The forgotten gods were not confined to that single underground city. They had outposts, dormant but awakening, all across the earth. And at the center of it all was Ezra, or what Ezra had become, working tirelessly to bring about the return of these ancient entities. As governments and scientific institutions finally began to take notice of the escalating strangeness, Kai and Scarlett found themselves thrust into the role of reluctant experts. They knew they were in a race against time, struggling to prepare humanity for a threat beyond imagination. But even as they worked, they couldn't shake the feeling that Ezra was always one step ahead, guided by knowledge beyond mortal comprehension. Months of preparation culminated in a global initiative to seal the awakening sites of the forgotten gods. Kai led teams of geologists and engineers, using a combination of modern technology and ancient wisdom gleaned from Scarlett's translations. For a moment, it seemed humanity might prevail against the cosmic threat. But as the last site was being sealed, the sky darkened worldwide. Ezra, now fully transformed into an avatar of the forgotten gods, appeared simultaneously at every major city across the globe. His message was clear. The age of humanity was at an end, and the reign of the elder beings would begin anew. In a desperate last stand, Kai and Scarlett confronted their former friend at the original underground city. The battle that ensued was beyond human comprehension, as reality itself warped around them. Drawing upon the knowledge they had gained, they managed to craft a ritual that could potentially banish the forgotten gods back to their dimension. As the ritual reached its climax, Ezra's human consciousness resurfaces briefly. In that moment of clarity, he realized the full horror of what he had become and what he had nearly brought upon the world. With a tremendous effort of will, he turned the power of the forgotten gods upon themselves, sacrificing himself to close the gap between dimensions. In the aftermath, the world was forever changed. The veil of reality had been lifted, and humanity was left to grapple with the knowledge that they were not alone in the universe. Kai and Scarlett, hailed as heroes but haunted by the loss of their friend, dedicated themselves to preparing Earth for future cosmic encounters. As they stood at the sealed entrance of the underground city one last time, they couldn't shake the feeling that this was not the end, but merely the beginning of humanity's journey into a larger, more terrifying universe.